Me and my family do not get along. I have an estranged brother, and the story goes really deep. But guys, I showed up years later after not being heard from, and I went to go confront my estranged brother because he has something that belongs to me. But when I went there to approach him, he acted like he didn't know who I was. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to show every single person exactly who I am.
For 15 years, I felt alone in this world. I'd always been an orphan since my mom had passed. From the moment that she passed, I was taken away by the government from my own brother. For many years, I was bitter because they took me away from my family. Little did I know that there was more to what happened all those 15 years ago. And now I've come face to face with the truth. I have to admit, it hurt so much to know the truth. I wish I could go back just a couple of hours before I found my brother. I wish I had to just let it go. Just left him to his own devices, but my thirst for the truth, it led to my humiliation in front of family and friends. See, they ended up kicking me out like a dog and threatening to call the cops and would not hear me out. This was after my brother Thomas denied knowing me. He goes by Jacob now and has completely erased his past. Speaking of the past, let me tell you about mine before I get into what happened today. When I was 9 years old, my mom, she passed away. I was left with my 23-year-old brother. We never knew who our father was, but Mom took good care of us. She had a good job, a beautiful home, and made sure that we flourished. My brother, who had moved out to college, moved back right before Mom's death. I later figured out that she was sick. She was hiding it from me. After this, there are two versions of what might happen next. According to what my brother tells me before the social workers took me away, he was not fit to take care of me. I was put into custody and spent my whole life changing foster homes. I had the bad luck of not getting adopted and ended up in the system till I turned 18. My brother, he did not look for me not even once in all that time. I stopped asking my caseworker to check on him after many years of disappointment. I kept on thinking that, well, he would come back for me just one day, but it was just a dream, a fairy tale. After I turned the age of 18, I start to look for him myself. That's when I found out about the other version of the story. According to the people I spoke to, my brother had voluntarily given me up because he could not deal with the pressure of taking care of me. He had not looked for me ever since, and there was no current information for him on record. After finding this out, I was gutted, but I decided to look more into what happened without condemning him. I decided to give him grace. He was just in his 20s when our mom passed. So years go by, but I could not find him. It was like he just vanished off the face of the earth, and boy, was I gutted. I started to think that something happened to him, and for a while I even stopped looking. I grieved a brother that I could barely remember, and just had to tell myself that this was the hand that I was dealt. In the meantime, I was off to college. You see, I did very well and graduated with a 3.6 GPA. Afterward, I became a physician's assistant and have been at that role for the past couple of years now. I've also been dating a very beautiful and kind woman named Peyton. See, for the past 2 years, my job, it's satisfactory, my life is going well, but there's still that hole that cannot be filled. I had my peace with the fact that I was never going to see my brother again, until my mother lawyer found me. It was such a coincidence because she's friends with Peyton's mom. When Peyton's mother showed her a picture of us, she instantly recognized me. My mother was loyal, a client of hers for many years, and she knew me really well. She kept an eye on me for many years, but when I had to move out of state, we just lost contact. It turns out that she's been looking for me since I turned 18. Can you believe this? I consider reconnecting with her to be the best thing to happen in my life, you know? Finally, someone who could give me answers. She was able to confirm that my brother had indeed signed me away, but not only that, he had kept the entirety of the inheritance to himself, even though I was supposed to get a big old chunk of it when I turned 18. She had tried to keep in contact with him and advise him when he got power of attorney, but he did not want to hear anything about it. He ghosted her, and he has since stayed under the radar. She knew a very good PI who could find anybody, no matter where they were, and offered to put me in contact with him. After doing some thinking, I decided to take the offer. I was burning for answers. If my brother was really this shy person he was turning out to be, then I deserved to speak to him. The PI was able to find him in less than 3 months. It turns out the reason why it was impossible to find my brother was that he had changed his name. He was now married and living in a nearby city. So once I got his address, I worked up the courage to visit him. Miss Pickens was kind enough to accompany me. Once we landed, we booked some rooms at the local hotel and rested. The next evening, when Tommy was out at work, we showed up at his house, and when we showed up, I realized that we had picked a very bad day because there was some sort of gathering, and to my surprise, nobody questioned us. The lady of the house even welcomed us, and we told her that we really needed to meet Jacob, which was his new name, and she said that he would come out after freshening up. I found out through eavesdropping that they were throwing a party for Tommy because he had just won a business award. My brother was one of the most successful dealership owners in the city and dominating in his field. I was glad that he had done well for himself, even if I had forgotten about me in the process. A couple of minutes later, he finally comes out, but I could not do it. I could not approach him so easily because I was scared. Miss Pickens held my hand and encouraged me until I was able to approach. When I stood in front of him and introduced myself, he looked surprised for a second. Then he stared blankly at me and he said that he has no idea who I am. He tries to walk away, but I grabbed him by the hand and called him by his birth name. I saw that recognition in his eyes, but it faded as soon as he loudly asked who had let us in. His wife said that we were friends of his, and she thought that he would want to speak to us. And the look he gave her, oh, you should have seen it. He told her that I was some scammer, just straight up pretending to be his brother, and he has no brother, and as far as he knew about it, he would not even know who I was in a million years. I pleaded for him to speak to me for just a second, because I had proof of all my claims. He said that he did not want to see the proof, and I had to get out of his face before he would do something he would regret. The more he spoke, the angrier he got. Now, everybody was just looking at us, and I could see the shock written on their face, and I started to feel embarrassed and considered to leave, but I had come too far. How dare he deny me? First he gave me up to the system, now he denies me in front of everyone. I uttered those words, and the next thing I knew, he had pushed me up against the wall, so I pushed him back. And he fell onto the sofa, and I begged him to listen to me. But by now I was raging. Suddenly, hands were on me, and I was being kicked out. I was told to leave before they called the cops on me, and it was apparent to them that I was mistaken because this was Jacob, not the Tommy that I keep calling him. Bitter tears fell down my cheeks as we walked back to the car. I could not believe it. He had denied me like I was no one. So it was true that he had abandoned me and stolen my inheritance. Now, what should I do? I'm at a loss for words, and I feel cheated. I need him to pay, but I don't know how to make him. Please offer me any advice that you guys could possibly have. Comment number 1 from Leah Walter. Oh gosh, I can't imagine how embarrassing it was to be thrown out by your own blood brother. I can't believe that he had the audacity to deny you like that. He probably doesn't want to blow up that perfect life that he has made by admitting that you're his bro. How will all of the friends that admire him so much react when they find out who he really is? I advise you to sue him. I mean, you do deserve half the inheritance. I'm sure that you can find proof that he's your brother. Come on. All you need's a DNA test. After that, you're entitled to what you own. You should get what's yours and cut him off. From the moment your mom passed away, he's abandoned you. He doesn't deserve to have a relationship with you. Sue him and then get out of there.
Comment number 2, Mark Andrews.
Firstly, I'm sorry that your meeting with your brother went the way that it did. However, I think that you should have approached him elsewhere instead of at his home. Some people do not react well to surprises, which is probably why he denied it. I don't doubt that he's your brother, but I think that he needs time to process this. Maybe send him an email requesting to meet privately, so you can discuss this, and in addition, he'll also get a chance to tell his side of the story. I get that you're upset with him because he just gave you away, but you need to hear from him for why he did so. So far, you've only been speculating, and that can be harmful. Have a private conversation with him away from everyone, even your lawyer, and see if you can handle this amicably. Who knows, you might just be able to reunite. Now, would that not be wonderful?
Update number 1, 2 days later.
Firstly, I just want to thank everybody for the comments on my initial post. There has been an update on this situation, so I took your advice and sent him an email explaining myself along with the proof that I had. He responded after a day. We met yesterday at a restaurant nearby, and his wife tagged along, but she sat at a different table. After ordering, we got down to business. It was not all how I thought it would be. Firstly, he tells me that he was sorry for everything I've gone through, and it was probably hard to be in foster care. Afterward, he showed me his identification card and tells me that his name was now Jacob, but he did not know who Tommy was. I knew he was going to pull this, so I showed him proof that I had his name changed. He told me this is fake, he never changed his name, and I should not trust whoever gave it to me. I was stumped, perplexed. He was really adamant that he was not my brother. But he looked like him, talked like him, and had all the mannerisms. Maybe he had an accident that permanently altered his memory? I asked him if that was the case, but he tells me that he's too tired for my harassment for today, and he would open a case if I did not leave him alone. With that, he stands up, and I didn't follow him. I sat there for a while just trying to process what the hell? All those years, money, and effort spent looking for a person who did not want to be found. It had to be some sort of joke, right? I looked around for the cameras. Oh, it was not a joke at all, and my blood brother just denied me. After leaving that restaurant, I weighed my options. I could force him to admit to the truth, even if I had to involve the law, or I could, just give up altogether. Maybe I could forget about him, and go back to a normal life. With time, the wounds will heal, and he will not matter. Yeah, that sounds like the best option. When I go back to the hotel, I told Miss Pickens that we would leave the following day, and I had decided to abandon the mission. With that, I had an afternoon nap and woke up to my hotel phone ringing. The receptionist informed me that a woman was looking for me. She then asked if I knew a Gabriella with the same surname as my brother's new one. My brother's wife? What is she doing at my hotel? I allowed her to come within, and as soon as she had come up, after greeting me, she tells me that her husband told her what happened. I then told her not to worry, I was not going to bother him anymore, and even though he was my brother, he clearly did not want me in his life, so it was best for me to leave. She surprised me by asking me, "Oh no, stay." She believed me. I was perplexed, so I asked her to please explain, and that's when she tells me that she wants me to stay because she knew how to help me. That was when she took out a plastic cup, which was in a zipper bag, and she told me that she has his DNA. I could get it tested, and afterward I could go after him, and I was shocked that his wife wants to betray him in such a manner. I asked why she would want to do that to her own husband, and she spitefully said that he's a dog. She said that he's been cheating on her throughout their entire marriage, and his cheating has done some incurable damage to her mental health. Now that she mentioned it, she looked very pale. I thought this was how she normally looked, but now that I looked more at her, she looked a bit sick. That brother of mine had made his wife sick due to his cheating, and now she wants my help to get revenge. Talk about an exposed, expected offer. Update number 2, 1 week later. The last I thought I would leave when I departed from my brother's city was a friend, somehow. See, I had become overnight best friends with my sister-in-law, Gabriella. She hated my brother with a burning passion and wanted him to pay for what he had done to her. Now that he had denied knowing me, we shared a common interest. The, ironing. She visited me. We talked till very late and exchanged a story. She had so much to tell me about my brother and made me glad that he did not raise me. Gabby and Jacob, I'll start addressing him as such from now on. They met a couple years after my mom's death, after he received his inheritance. Gabby was already from a pretty well-off family, and met him while she was buying a car at the dealership that he had bought his from. And from then on, they had been inseparable and have 2 kids together. A couple years into the marriage, Gabby discovered that my brother was cheating on her. She was already pregnant and not working, so she decided to stay. In addition, they had moved away from her hometown, so she did not have a support system. He promised that he would never do it again, but he did it over and over again. She stayed in that unhappy cycle because he had made her feel like there was nothing else out there in the world. She supported him through everything, but he didn't care. When he started using illicits, she was the one who brought him back to the straight and narrow path he needed to be on. But now he was turning his back on her, and I could understand why she was so frustrated because that man she married was bad. A couple months ago, she found out that she had, well, a virus. When she confronted him, she found out that one of his girlfriends gave it to him, and he gave it to her. Ever since then, the love for him has just been gone, and all she wanted to think about was revenge. So when I showed up and she found out what's been done to me, she knew that I could help her. Hearing her story made me forget all my plans and just let it go. He had gotten away with far too much for a very long time, but that stops now. Gabby and I are going to take out revenge and leave him begging for mercy. With the cup that Gabby acquired, I now had my brother's DNA. I sent our samples for testing, and within 4 days, the results came back. Unfortunately, I was already back home by then, and Gabby and I kept in touch. I've told Miss Pickens about this, and she's busy filing the paperwork as I write. After this, I'm going to take my brother to the courthouse and get what is rightfully mine. I know for a fact that he used the inheritance to purchase his car dealership, and he did not even put my shares into a fund. It's highly unlikely, at least. Miss Pickens has investigated, and there's no record of him keeping some extra money from me. That means that selfish dude used my inheritance to make himself rich, and I deserve that inheritance as much as he does. Why did he have to steal it? He's very guilty, and I'm not going to let him get away with it. In addition to that, he's been treating my sister-in-law poorly. That woman has been a good wife and a mother, but he thinks that getting her sick is the way to thank her. She's family. And there's no way I'm going to let him treat her like this. By the way, even if I was on good terms with my brother, he was not going to get away with treating her like that. It's messed up. I've told my girlfriend what happened. She's horrified. She's so happy that I'm going to take my brother to court and make him pay. She's watched me go through a lot of emotional stuff while I was looking for my brother, only to be disappointed, and when I told her what happened, she was supportive. The way she supported me made me love her even more. You know, I swear, one day, I'm gonna marry that woman. But I'm not financially stable yet due to spending all my money looking for Jacob. Update number 3, 3 months later. Boo-hoo-hoo, guess who's back? Sorry, I'm just so giddy with excitement because of what has just occurred. It's really a testament to how things always work out. No matter what, once my brother got his court summoning, it was game on. Since I had proof of us being related and my mother's will, I had a reason to contest it and demand my share. Miss Pickens was even kind enough to recommend her niece to handle my case. She didn't want there to be a conflict of interest due to how she was so involved. I understood and respect her decision, happy that I had told her and got her support. With her, Gabby, and Peyton, and I felt invincible. But Gabby could not support me in public till she got her divorce. A month into the court proceedings, she served that loser with divorce papers and dumped him. I was parked across the street just in case he tried to do something. He shouted a bit but eventually left because he did not want to wake up the kids. He tried to stall on signing the papers, so she prevented him from seeing his kids. Eventually he gave in, and they started the process of divorce. It was raining down fire on him, with my case on one hand and his wife leaving him on the other. I was pretty sure that he could not believe how he was losing everything. He had control for so long, but I'd come back to mess everything up, as he said. There was no lost love between us. He despised me with each passing day as his lies unraveled. It was revealed that the inheritance, had indeed financed his first business and personal expenses after Mom passed. It was also revealed that he lied about me being miserable so that he could get the inheritance, and I guess no investigation was done because he got everything. That was probably why he did not bother to contact me. Oh, and to make matters worse, he had changed his name after he was linked to some illegal crime. After getting the charges dropped, he changed his name and moved to Gabriella's town. From then on, he was no longer Tommy. He was Jacob. This being revealed, it just reminded me of how much a troublesome son that he had been to Mom. He could never keep up a job, and she often talked about how much she was worried about him. Clearly, he had been nothing more than a lowlife. Gabby tried her hardest to save him, but even an angel could not save someone who's destined to be a lowlife. Soon enough, I found him and uncovered what he did. I held a mirror to who he really was, and those who revered him shied away. His reputation was ruined as what he had done was revealed. The cherry on top was when the judge granted me 50% of everything that he currently owns. He would not have had that fortune if he had not used my share of the inheritance he owed me. You should have seen the look on his face when the judge announced the verdict. His face was thunderous, and he immediately starts calling me a vulture. He vented about how he had worked so hard to make his fortune, and now I'm just taking it. He had no idea that his problems were just starting. In a couple of days, his divorce case is going to be finalized, and things are not really looking too good for him now, are they? My sister-in-law cooked him and revealed all the nasty things he had done to her over the years. His already damaged reputation let out a dying whimper after everything was revealed, and this was without my sister-in-law revealing that he gave her an illness. She's decided that she wants to keep that matter private because she lives in a small town. If she reveals it, then she wants it to be on her own terms. I completely understand where she's coming from on that because, she should not have to ruin her reputation just to get back at him. I'll be back soon with an update on the situation. Final update 3 months later. Finally, I can give you guys an update because ding dong, he's gone. After the divorce was finalized, there was much more drama. But now he's out of mine and Gabby's lives and paying for his actions. To say that I'm happy would be an understatement because I'm going to jump due to all the joy I'm feeling. Gabby got 50% of his assets too, which had already been halved after my court case. This meant that we were now the majority shareholders of his business. He hated it. He tried to appeal the court decision, but it was impossible. He had no choice but to let us be his business partner. Gabby and I made sure that we spent every day making his life miserable. I was away most of the day, so Gabby had free reign. He called me several times to tell me to put her on a leash, since I had more shares than her, but I refused to get involved. Making his life hell was the least that she could get after he permanently altered her life like that. Like the coward he is, he was unable to take the heat for too long and ended up selling his shares. He swore that we would never be able to turn a profit without him. Oh boy, was this dude wrong. Now that he was not there to, use all the company finances, we were able to get so much more out of our resources. We put our brains together and completely rebranded. Gabby had the wonderful idea to focus more on working moms, and she was right. We turned 10% more profit in the first 3 months after he left, and he was actually dragging the business down. While he was a good businessman, he lacked focus. He liked his substances and women more than he liked working, and that did not work out too well for him. After he sold the company, he starts partying like there's no tomorrow. He overindulged the drinking, the women, and not really thinking about his fortune. Now that Gabby was not there to save him from himself, the descent to heck was fast. Not even 2 months after he sold the company, he was borrowing money from people because he could not keep up his expenses. Soon he faced eviction, ended up getting kicked out, and he was living in his car. But he lost that soon enough, and now he's on the street. I could not believe that he had blown through all the money so easily. Gabby explained that even before he sold the company, he was overspending. Maybe he had gotten into a lot of debt even before he sold the company. Her theory does make a lot of sense, but I didn't care too much about what's going on with him. He got himself into that situation. It was now time for him to be humbled. Gabby told me that she sometimes feels sorry for him, but then she remembers how he never cared when she got sick because of him. Instead, he just told her to take her medication, and said that if she left him, nobody would want her. As for me and him, we're not on speaking terms. We have now gotten along for a one day ever since we reunited, and I don't think that I will ever have a relationship with him for as long as he acts like that. He's not my brother as far as I'm concerned. The only family I gave is my sister-in-law and her kids. And soon my girlfriend. I finally proposed to her a month ago. Very soon we're going to get married, and I'm over the moon. I can't wait till she becomes my wife.